So as I was going over my vector 2 generator, it does var vex var equals vector 2, half of a semicolon, var tile size equals tile size, count, you know, the gist. If it's less than 9,000, it's going to do this function. And then F1 and F2, which is X and fucking Y for the vector 2. So the text editor will add vex var, which is the vector 2. Then it will add F1, which is this, in a string. F1 is an integer, it will make it a string. And then it'll add a comma, because you need that to distinguish between X and fucking Y in the vector 2. And then I'll add F2, string F2, and then I'll add the other comma. By the way, I did indices too. For those of you who want to learn about indices, I did indices too. I'll explain that as well. And then I added F2, the Y side. And then I added and then I closed my parentheses for the vector 2. Okay, and then I did text edit dot text plus equals tile size. Now, what is tile size? Tile size is a variable I created in my other program, where I could then multiply times tile size the variable, so I don't have to keep coming back and regenerating these numbers for my programmable plane. Okay. And then you might be wondering why use a number generator in it instead of an array, and I'll tell you, the speeds are a lot different, and there's a computer science to why that is. And then I add my comma, and then I do f1 plus equals 0.01, and then it's going to do that up to 0.99 times, because here's my if statement. My if statement is if this is ever 1, make it 0 right here. And before you make it 0, because it closes the if statement, f2 plus equals 0.01, and then count plus equals 1. Okay? And I always end my if statements with the closing statement at the end. It could work with the flipped around, because the code still could read the program. In C++, it might actually work. And in GDScript, I forgot, so I just always close with the closing statement at the end. So if I ever want to change my true-false statement, I always close with that at the end. Then I made the H slider so I know when it's done loading. In fact, I think it is. And the H slider is at the end, so it is done loading. And if I am correct, I've generated all the numbers I needed. And I will go ahead and copy this. And I have done this once before. So I'll go ahead and add a notepad, paste this, but this is correct. This is what I wanted. Okay, this is what I wanted. This is 99. I might actually have to add one more vector. It looks like I have to add one more vector. We started with 0, 0, then we added 1. But I might not, because that's 10,000 vectors. It should be 10,000 vectors. Count starts with 0. Count adds 1. Yeah, that's 10,000 vectors, so I can't. But that's why we have the tile size, multiplied by tile size, because it wasn't going to be perfect. Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm curious if I have two sets of numbers. 98. Okay, we're good. We're good. We have 10,000 numbers. That is the most we can have. Alright, so that generated this for this. And what is this? This is 10,000 vectors. I have it in pastebin. You don't ever have to do that ever. I also have the other numbers in pastebin, which is generated from my other number generator. Now, what's the significance of the number generator as opposed to an array? If I press play, I generate a box. There's my box. Not a box, a plane. Okay. And that is a 100 by 100 plane, blah blah blah, small landscape. In an array, if I wanted to make that landscape, I would have to generate all 10,000 of those numbers in the array, just as you've seen, and it would take not the same loading time, because the text editor is obviously going to lag after a certain amount, but it would take like maybe one fifth of that time. Now, 1/5 of that time, if you were to duplicate all these, okay, and let me just move some of these around. I could also array these, and I'd still be very fine. I'm generating these, which don't generate numbers. They already have numbers, so I can generate these tiles to make landscapes if I wanted to, and that actually would benefit. So that is, if we press play, a whole bunch of tiles. Should be a whole bunch of tiles everywhere. If not, it is due to my camera's field of view, which needs to be set at 4,000. I don't think it changes in there. So now it's set at 4,000. There we go. You can see all the tiles that are generated. And if I were to duplicate this node, something like that. Keep duplicating. Hold on, I actually want to get a good count. I'm at 56. Duplicate. Just want to really sink that fucking in. Also, it's still running. Just want to really sink in why this is much better than an array. So let's say I had 200 of these. That's obviously 200. And I press play. This is how fast it's going to take. It's going to take a minute. There. That's how fast it took. Less than a minute. What it was, 3 seconds to generate 200 of these. Now, 200 of these, that's a lot, to say the least. That is a lot of vectors. You're looking at a lot more than any landscape that has existed, generated other than voxels, but voxels generates as you move per plane, and then it starts to build chunks. Mine did not need chunks, it was preloaded before. So this is much faster than an array. Multitudes faster, and there's a computer science to why it is faster, and will forever be faster because of one significant thing. And that one thing is, I have my vectors here. Okay, we're good. That one thing is, and forever will be, because a IDE, a text editor, what GDScript is a text editor. What Visual Studios is a text editor, an IDE. What CDev is a text editor, IDE. Within Unity, what C# is, text editor, IDE. You still have to use Visual Studios anyways. And other programs like CryEngine, where you can actually utilize the text within there. You can utilize Notepad as a fucking text editor. But that is that a text editor can read hundreds of thousands of fucking numbers, hundreds of thousands of keys, which there is a finite amount of. No matter how many, what do we have, 56? There's a finite amount of keys. It can read hundreds of thousands of those keys within a millisecond. But it will take multiple milliseconds for it to generate because of time. Not because of time in the physics version, but because of time in the process function of every IDE, computer science, i.e. example, they have purposely made a limitation on computers for the process method in order to have delta and time in a computer. Otherwise, all process functions would be read instantaneously and your game wouldn't work because you have no time. So the computer automatically limits its time in order to work.